All right, all right, all right. Well, I don't know how this happened, but yes, the other day I ended up on ProFootballTalk.com, and when I was a normie, I used to go to this website multiple times a day. I wasted so much time reading all of the nonsense on this website for a very long time, and I don't even think I've been there since. So we're talking years and years and years. But anyway, I ended up there, and I saw this absolutely hilarious post by Tony Dungy. Now, Tony Dungy is a bit of a sacred cow, so let's get after it. He wrote a letter about a year ago about how racist the NFL's hiring practices are, and I guess it didn't do enough to change things. So he wrote another letter to the NFL just the other day about how racist the NFL's hiring practices are. And this is first of all, it's absolutely preposterous on the face of it that the NFL has racist hiring practices. On the face of it, most players that are making millions of dollars are black. Most players are black, and that's a very weird kind of thing to say. That you have a racist hiring practice if most of the people on the field are black. Because here's the thing, not that many people in America are black, and yet they're overrepresented in the NFL, which basically means that the NFL owners are hiring the people that they think are best suited for the positions. And so when it comes to NFL players, the people that are best suited for those positions, many of them happen to be black. And so it's just, it beggars belief that anyone could say that the NFL has racist hiring practices on the face of it. And this is a great case study because it goes to show you that these woke people will never be satisfied no matter what the situation is. Literally, no matter what the situation is, they will never be satisfied because their desires are sinful in themselves. And so when you're chasing after sin, sin is never enough. That's what the Bible says. Your eye is never satisfied. You know what I mean? When you're chasing after sin, sin is never going to be enough, and you will go through hell every day of your life. And so when you are chasing after sin in this woke church sort of racial justice kind of thing, you're never going to be satisfied no matter what the result. But the idea here from Tony Dungy is because not enough coaches are black, then that proves that there's a race problem in hiring. Now, nobody cites the fact that there's not a lot of black punters as a sign of racism, because there aren't a lot of black punters, and therefore by the same standard, I guess, for some reason these owners have racist hiring practices that shows up everywhere except most of the players. So it shows up in coaches, it shows up in punters for some reason. Like punter is a pretty critical position on any football team. If anyone who knows anything about football knows that the field position battle is very important, and so if you have a good punter, that's a huge benefit. But for some reason, the racist hiring practices of the owners shows up in punter, but it doesn't show up in running back. It doesn't show up in wide receiver, but it shows up in punter for sure. So it's they're racist part-time. They're part-time racists. So when we got to find a punter. There's all these black punters out there that are superior to white punters, but because I'm racist, I'm only going to hire the white punters. That doesn't make any sense. And it's the same thing with coaches, right? Obviously these owners have demonstrated that. Let's just take the fantasy scenario of Tony Dungy, right? This is his dream world. Tony Dungy's dream world looks something like this. Every owner is racist. They're the most racist people on the planet. Every NFL owner, this is what he fantasizes about. Every NFL owner is this secret racist. And they just hate black people, and they probably when they go to their little owners meetings, they're dropping N-bombs left and right. They're just so racist, right? That's his little fantasy world, right? But somehow they can put aside their racism when they're hiring players because they want to win, right? Because, look, and people are complicated, right? On the one hand, they've got this desire to be racist. On the other hand, they've got this desire to win, and they've got to sort of work this out. And this is Tony Dungy's fantasy world, right? In Tony Dungy's, fantasy of everyone's racist, they want to win, but they're also racist. So they got to kind of like put this together and work this out. And it certainly seems to me like, and not just to me, just to any thinking person, that the desire to win and make money wins out over the desire to be racist. Because if you look at the people that they hire for their teams in critical positions, wide receiver, running back, things like that, a lot of the offensive line, the defensive players, a lot of defensive players are there any white defensive backs? I don't know. I don't even know of one. But it doesn't matter. Like, these are critical positions, and somehow their desire to win wins out over their desire to be racist, right? But they're part-time racist, right? So, like, the head coach, which I don't think anyone's arguing is an inconsequential position. In fact, that's the whole point of this open letter, this hilarious, ridiculous open letter. He's saying, look, we could be better than this. We can hire better coaches, and it's going to have a great result in the field. We're going to play better football, and it's going to be a better product. I agree. I mean, head coach is a very important position to get someone to coordinate everything and to make decisions and to teach people how to get them put players in the positions to win. This is a very critical skill set. But for some reason, now remember, these same coaches that they're all racist. They hate black people. Their desire to win wins out when they're picking a defensive back, but for some reason, the head coach, which makes tons more money than the defensive back, their desire to win no longer applies. Now they just want to be racist, right? So it doesn't matter that there's a ton of other highly qualified black head coaches out there that are better than the white head coaches. No. All of a sudden, the racist part of their brain clicks on, and now they're going to be racist when they're hiring a head coach. It's preposterous, but this is Tony Dungy's fantasy world, right? And the same thing applies with quarterback, too, because there's not that many black quarterbacks. There's more than there used to be, but there's not that many. And so it's like, well, so all of a sudden, when the desire to win wins out, when they're picking defensive back or a linebacker or a running back, most of those guys are black. When you're picking the critical position of quarterback, all of a sudden, your brain breaks and your desire to be racist overrides the desire to win when you're picking quarterbacks, punters, and also head coaches. This is obviously the most ridiculous thing that anyone's ever proposed. Like, again, if you want to allege racism in hiring practices, probably the dumbest place to do that would be in the NFL, which is, it's just preposterous on the face of it. So, again, even if they're all racist, according to Tony Dungy's fantasy land, this is what he dreams of. Oh, they're just all racist. Even if they were, it's obvious that their desire to win counterbalances their racism and wins out every time, even in head coaches, even in quarterbacks, even in punters, even in kickers, place kickers. Most place kickers are black or white too. So, it's not like field goals ever come into play in the game, right? Like, it's never important to hit a field goal, right? No, but you see, what happens is there's all these black field goal kickers out there that are way better than the white field goal kickers. But for some reason, when it comes to field goal kicker, their brain turns racist again, and now they don't care about winning. Now they just want to hire a white guy for field goal kicker. This is the stupidest theory that anyone's ever had, that somehow the NFL has racist hiring practices. But that's what Tony Dungy's saying. He's saying, well, you see, like there's only one black head coach. I mean, that proves it. That proves that we're racist. And obviously it doesn't prove anything and all of that kind of thing. But then anyway, I'm not going to read this whole hilarious. If you want to read this hilarious article, I'll put the link into the description of this video. But what he proposes is, I guess the Steelers are like the one team that's not racist, right? They've got this process for hiring a coach that's superior to every other team's process, and they're the one team that's not racist. Surprise, surprise, they have a black head coach. So I guess they're the only team in the league that knows how to do this the right way. I mean, they still had a white quarterback, they still had white place kickers and punters. I guess nobody's perfect, right? I mean, Tony Dungy's a realist. Nobody's perfect. But anyway, he puts this blueprint. They decide, what they want in a head coach, and then they do an exhaustive search. And exhaustive is in bold and italic. So I guess what he's saying is, again, the racist head coaches, they do exhaustive. I mean, they hire talent scouts, and they do exhaustive sourcing of players in college to see who's the best player, and they turn their racist part of their brain off when they do this, because because they end up picking a lot of black players because they're the best players. So but they don't do the exhaustive search when it comes to quarterback or place kicker or punter or head coach, the most important of all those positions. In fact, they get paid the most as well. Head coach, though, they don't do exhaustive searches, but the Steelers did. That's how they ended up with Tomlin, because they did an exhaustive search. They had a blueprint in mind of what they wanted to hire, and then they picked the best candidate for their franchise. And credit to the Steelers, they do this. They commit to the head coach for a long time. Most of the losing organizations, they change coaches every 3 years. That's their own prerogative, but the Steelers don't do that. So, yeah, the Steelers do have a pretty good, they do this, but the idea that Tony Dungy's proposing here is that that's how you end up with a superior black head coach, and all the other racist teams aren't doing this. It's preposterous, whatever. But anyway, so he has two ideas that he thinks are going to help the head coach process. And when he says help, he actually doesn't really mean that you end up with the better person. What he means is that you end up with more blacks as head coaches. That's how you know, because this is not about picking the best, because it's already about that. It's about improving how many black people are hired as head coach. Because if people adopt his little ideas here, but they still don't end up with black head coaches, he's going to still write another stupid open letter next year that says the head coaching hiring process is still broken. It's still broken. Anyway, here's his ideas. The first idea is have a job description and let it be known what you are looking for. Have a job description and let it be known what you're looking for. So now when you're hiring an NFL head coach, you got to say stuff like, well, I need someone to improve my defense and improve my offense and develop my quarterback and win more games. Like, this is so asinine. Like, obviously they want someone to win more games than the last guy did. Right? Obviously. But the thing is, I think what he's trying to do here is he's trying to set up some lawsuits, right? So if you say, hey, I'm really looking for an offensive mastermind, and that's in your job description, and then you end up hiring a white guy who, his track record is more on the defensive side of the ball, well, then all of a sudden that opens up a lawsuit. See, you're racist because you said you were looking for offense, but then you ended up hiring a defensive guy. Say, that's how I know you're being racist. The racist part of your brain turned on. And it's like, that's what I believe that this is about for Tony Dungy. Then the second idea, I actually think it's a good idea, but it's perplexing why he thinks this would help black people. Because that's the point of this document, is to help black people get more head coaching jobs. This is the second idea. He says, no interviews before the Super Bowl and no hirings until 10 days after the Super Bowl. I always thought that was weird, right? Like, you're in the Super Bowl or you're in the playoffs or whatever, and your offensive coordinators are getting interviewed for head coaching jobs on other teams. And it's like, shouldn't you be preparing for the game or like the Super Bowl or something? Like, why are you now taking some time out of your day when you should be preparing for the most important game of your life to interview for the 49ers or whatever it is, right? Like that always that should be a rule anyway. It's very distracting, and doesn't make much sense to me to allow that in the middle of a season. Now, he wants there to be like a cooling off period. I think this is what Tony Dungy's fantasy world is like. It's like, well, you see, racists, they need a cooling off period, right? So if they wait 10 days, then the racist part of their brain will probably turn off. And so then they'll hire more black people. And so that's why we need a 10-day delay until after the Super Bowl to hire someone and all of that kind of stuff. This obviously isn't going to help anything. It's going to help nothing, because NFL owners already aren't hiring according to race. They're hiring according to who's they think is going to, be the best person to hire. That's how they already do that, and the statistics of the NFL prove that beyond any doubt. Most players are black. If they didn't care about winning, they wouldn't hire black people if they were racist. But of course, they're not racist, and they do care about winning, so they hire the best person that they think is going to be the best at that particular position at that particular time. They're often very wrong, but that's what they're doing. And so, all this to say, like, honestly, Tony Dungy, here's my open video to you. This is my suggestion. Why don't we just cut to the chase, right? all this nonsense. You're nibbling around the edges. Oh, we need to make sure that nobody gets interviewed before the Super Bowl. Again, I like that idea, but not for the reasons he said. Oh, we need to write job descriptions, and we need to make sure that we wait 10 days before anyone's hired. And, why don't we just, that's all nonsense. It's not going to help. Why don't we just cut to the chase? Let's replace the Rooney Rule, right? We're going to replace the Rooney Rule. We got a new rule. It's called Rainbow Rule. Here's the Rainbow Rule. You ready for the Rainbow Rule? The Rainbow Rule says that whatever your head coach was last, if you're going to fire him, you got to hire the opposite race, right? Or maybe just every race in the rainbow, right? So if you fire a white guy, he wasn't the right guy for the job. Now by rule, you need to hire a black guy. And if the black guy gets fired, he didn't end up the right fit for the team, then by rule you got to hire a Latino guy. And if the Latino guy doesn't work out, then by rule you got to hire a Chinese guy or a Vietnamese guy or an Indian or whatever it is, Colombian. Like, you just got to go through the whole rainbow before you can finally turn the racist part of your brain on again and hire a white guy. There it is. There's the Rainbow Rule. The Rainbow Rule is superior to Rooney Rule because, see, in Rooney Rule, like you could just, I'm going to interview a black guy, but I'm a racist, so I don't care about winning. He's a better candidate, but I'm going to hire the white guy instead. See, the Rooney Rule allows for racism to still exist, and we're anti-racist, right? We don't want to allow any room for racism, and so how about the Rainbow Rule? So that way, every color under the rainbow gets hired as a head coach at some point on your team. But you know what? That actually, to be honest, that actually allows for racism too. Because remember, these NFL owners are just totally racist. And so what they'll do is they'll start the rainbow with the white guy, right? So whoever the white coach is, that's where they'll start the Rainbow Rule, right? Everyone will start on white because they're racist and they don't care about winning. And so they'll start on white, and then they'll never fire the coach. They'll just be like, well, since I'm so racist and I don't care about winning, yeah, sure, Eric Mangini stinks. Yeah, sure, Adam Gase, he's a horrible head coach. Sure, but since I don't care about winning and I'm just racist, I'm just going to keep Eric Mangini and Adam Gase or whoever the guy is. And so the Rainbow Rule, when you think about it, isn't actually going to fix anything. So let's just cut to the chase, Tony Dungy. Let's implement a ban, a moratorium, if you will, on hiring white, just not even head coaches, just white people. No white people allowed in the NFL anymore because we can't trust these racist NFL owners to not do the right thing and hire the best person for the job. Their racist brain turns on when they're hiring coaches and quarterbacks and punters and kickers. So from now on, from this day forward, no coaches can be white, no quarterbacks can be white, no kickers or punters can be white. For some reason, there's a lot of white safeties out there, too. No white safeties. No white safeties at all. And that will be, let's just cut to the chase, Tony Dungy. There's my open letter, open video to Tony Dungy. Stop beating around the bush, stop centering whiteness, and stop covering for white supremacy. Do what needs to be done. No white NFL employees. Period. I hope you found this video enlightening, helpful. God bless.